Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Wednesday Night America here, because it definitely does take courage on a Wednesday night. It is May 17th, 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for returning and joining us. Don't forget to visit NDB Media, where you can find all of our programming at ndbmedia.net. Don't forget to check us out on twitter.com/NDB Media and on twitch.tv/NDB Media. A lot of stuff going on. Head over to the website. Many guests are due to join us real soon. But beyond that, folks, this is night 2 of a very special program. You know who I am, Roger Rogelio Noriega. I want to introduce these two fine, wonderful gentlemen that are going to be joining us this evening. Of course, Eugene Castillo and Chris Jamison. Eugene, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger, for having us back again. Chris and I founded the project called The Courage to Look 3 years ago now. We had the idea in the wake of the George Floyd protests and all kinds of unrest around the United States that at least me, I didn't want to go to my grave, at least in that sense, saying that I didn't do something to try to make a difference. And I'm not sure how much of difference this is. The Courage to Look is simply a self-study course that is hosted by Chris and myself, in which we guide participants through a textual reading of Professor George Tataki's book, A Different Mirror, a history of multicultural America, and provide other material for which Chris will talk about in a second, for participants to understand the historical roots of racism with the hope that we might find a common solution together.
Yes, over the months-long course, we'll introduce the text from the book, of course, but we'll also take them through different, what we call supplemental materials. Those could be academic documents or news articles, or sometimes we like to throw in the odd comedy clip, because this, the history of the country can be really difficult to deal with, especially, depending on your point of view. But, I think comics have a great way of summing up, difficult circumstances in a way that not only pokes light at power, but also sums things up so that they're easily to grasp and understand on an emotional level. So, and along with those materials that we have 4 group meetings where everyone will come together and we'll introduce the topics using video clips, and there'll be group discussion among the participants. So, there's a lot really to the program.
So we talked about this last week. The content of the course, basically, it's sort of a glorified book study group. But we wanted to be people, 2 persons of color, who hosted this journey, if you will, this journey of courage, because, frankly, our society needs it. I made the allusion last Wednesday about how could it be that we have a society that can rebuild Notre Dame Cathedral, but we cannot rebuild our fundamentally flawed human society at its core. And this morning I was just thinking about this. I was in crutches about 7 years ago, and I was thinking about the type of person that it takes who would give up his or her seat on a bus for someone in crutches, or the type of person that it would take to hold the door open for somebody who is in crutches. You've been in crutches, Roger? Yeah.
Yes, I have. I'm using a cane right now, believe it or not.
And what kind of person does it take? Because I've had doors, 7 years ago, I had doors slammed in my face, thinking that person was going to hold it open for me as I just fumbling through, and what type of person does it take to sort of be the Keanu Reeves who gives up his seat in the subway in New York? And I was just thinking, and I could be wrong, but this is just my contemplation on the subject. It's somebody who's been there themselves is the type of person that would do it, or B, somebody who's less preoccupied with their own suffering, or C, somebody who understands that suffering, that the suffering that would be caused and experienced, and not want for that to happen. And this is the courage that we're inviting people to open up to.
Gentlemen, as you were commenting on that, I had an experience yesterday, and I don't want to make this about me. I'll share it in a moment, but I get it. I really do. It was an experience that I had. I went through quite a bit of therapy yesterday, so I was used up. Went to the pharmacy, thought I was going to be first in line. I get up there 4 minutes before it's supposed to open. There's about 8 people already waiting there for the lunch break to end. And I joked about it. I says, oh, golly gee, I thought I was going to be the first one. And they were there. And I was trudging up there, and I was having difficulty. There was an older gentleman in the corner, and he laughed. He shared the joke with me. And I guess he immediately made an evaluation. And he was much older than I am. And he offered me his seat. First of all, I was stunned. Second, I was like, that's okay. I can still walk. I'm good. But I was surprised by that. When the pharmacy opened up, he had difficulty walking, and he offered his seat to me. Someone much younger using a cane. I was stunned by that. Interesting that you would say that right now, Eugene.
I read your mind, Roger. And I was walking back from the park and looked up at this condominium building, and I saw one of those signs that said Black Lives Matter, and I almost thought, I chuckled a little bit. I almost said it out loud, but there was nobody there. That social media banter, whatever form it is, signs or electronic social media banter can make us feel easily complacent and feel like we've done the work. And doing the work is the part that we're asking people to have courage to do.
I believe I mentioned to you, I am an activist by nature. And to be an activist now is a derisive term to some people. And I don't understand. I'm choosing to partake in the system. I'm choosing to do something. As unfortunately, I engaged coworkers, say, hey, I know what I want. I'm going to go and get it, instead of just sitting here in my conference room complaining. And because of that, it was almost a slur. Well, it's because you're an activist. This is to a young man who walked on Olympic Boulevard in Boyle Heights, demonstrating so Governor George Duke Major would not put a prison in Boyle Heights. This is a man who never crossed a picket line, because my father told me one time, you never cross a line. It was done. It was over. Never crossed the line. I have demonstrated. I have had jackbooted thugs in front of me, and I've walked precincts. I've done many things. I'm no different than any other activist, but I have done it. And it's just sad that people do not, and this is why I'm saying this, which is, I hope, adds to what you just said. People do not walk in our shoes. They don't know what it's like. And something you just said a moment ago reminded me of that. They don't know what we live. They don't see it, and they're not interested in seeing it from the other, not my point of view, but from the other person's point of view.
And that's why it takes courage, because in order to have that kind of compassion to give up one's place in line, or one's seat on a bus, or to hold that door open, we're presuming a bigger compassion. We're presuming a compassion that's putting all of society as welfare at our fingertips, at our as our responsibility. And the problem is, you've experienced, because of your racial upbringing, your by birth and by inculturation. That is what was ingrained into you in a learned way. You have a sense of you have a sympathetic sense that is different than other people. So it's natural for you to understand the importance of a project like The Courage to Look. I have this fear that now that we are in the endemic stage of the healthcare, the health crisis in the world, that people are just going to take my time, my disposable money, and put their and rightly so, to some extent, we need to take care of ourselves. So at what point and at what cost is it going to continue to be okay not to speak up? Because the point is, if you read this book, the point is that the power has always existed in the hands of white people in a society, and it will always continue to be until we make a difference in our structural systems. And when will the time be?
It has to be today. It can't be yesterday, and tomorrow's too far away.
Well, now you sound like Yul Brynner or something.
Oh. It has the volume gone, gentlemen? I apologize. I advise my clients. I advise my coworkers. I advise family members. The only thing that we have, that all of us share in common, the only thing is that instrument created by man, or our species, and it moves every second. That inexorable march forward, that instrument that we use to navigate our lives, to control our lives, or to live our lives. It is the only thing that we all have in common, and it is finite. And I tell my clients, the worst day to start is tomorrow. You start today. You can never get back yesterday. You can learn, you can pay attention, you can wallow in agony over yesterday, or today you can take that step forward. It doesn't matter if you fall, because if it hurts, that means you're living, right, boys? Or men, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that derisively. You know what I mean. If we're hurting, we're living.
Shut up, Roger. So, in theory, today at midnight or 11:59, what is the deadline for this 2023 round cycle of The Courage to Look? And we have one application so far. Ideally, we need 8 participants to make it work with the various facilitators we have, discussion group leaders. But who knows? I mean, 2.5 years ago, Chris and I sat down and said, this may fail, but at least I knew, I said this for myself, I will die going to my grave knowing that I did something. I tried to do something. And that's okay. And if we get one person, then it will be worth it. And it's difficult. We're going to do something in a little bit. I kind of primed you beforehand. There are 2 components to sort of like the trajectory of the course. The end part of the trajectory of the course, that is sort of the arrival point, is that everybody writes their own sort of epilogue. Professor Tataki, his last section of his book, he makes this history personal for himself, and he kind of bears his soul. And so we ask participants to write their own epilogue and how they've changed. And so maybe we could share one of those blogs, one of the epilogues that Leslie wrote, And the other thing we asked them to do is to do a role-playing scenario. You're going to go out into the world knowing the facts of history by a reputable historian. Professor Kutaraki taught at University of California, Berkeley for years. And, what is different about your conversations out there in the world. So we do a role-playing thing. So we'll do that in a second. So
let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
I apologize, Eugene. There are several people watching us now. We already received our first like. Elizabeth, Olivia Cooper, thank you for giving us a little bit of love tonight on Facebook. We have several people watching us. Please, folks, as you see it down on the Chiron, let us know who you are and where you hail from. Let us know that you're watching. And if you have some comments for us, please, share them in the chat room. And you'll get me to shut up if you respond.
I'm gonna share that a little bit more information about if you're on Facebook. Maybe you can share that link with folks, Roger. So people write their own epilogues, and we actually do role-playing scenarios. So I would like to read a little bit from Leslie's epilogue, her takeaways from this course. She said that it struck her that as a professional, she has long examined the operation of power in a north-south context, and she rarely had the opportunity to examine the same operation of power so close to home. And she writes, I was constantly struck by the things I did not know or did not know in detail enough that I should have known. And I realized that this was both because this silencing is built into the system in order to maintain power and privilege, and because I had not asked or asked enough, and that this too, my ability to choose not to ask, not to have to know, was part of that systemic privilege. So, people are interested, whether or not they're interested in the course, if they're interested in reading some of participants 2 years ago blog or their epilogues, I welcome you to share their epilogues, and it's coming at you right now. So what do you say we do a little bit of role playing, Roger, with just your heart on your sleeve as your ammunition?
Sure, I'm up for it. I'm privileged to be a part of this. Gentlemen, I didn't get to say this last time, but I want to say it now, and I'm not being condescending in any way whatsoever. I cannot have the conversation that you are endeavoring to have. I respect you, I admire you, and dare I say, I am proud of you, both of you. I say you in the singular, but I mean both of you, for taking this step. So as I mentioned last time, no one wants to talk about this because of anger, experience, and ignorance. But I don't pretend to be an expert, but it doesn't change the fact that that's why we're here today, because I respect genuinely what you are in, or I was going to say endeavoring, what you are doing.
Well, let me just take that before we launch into the role-playing, Roger, and say that it is always going to be uncomfortable. It is going to be uncomfortable, and just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. So we're going to experience that right now. You're going to feel a little bit of butterflies in your stomach or whatever, but we will talk about how to navigate that. So in this first scenario, which Chris has picked ahead of time, he is a white person of privilege of some sort, and then he'll make a statement, and then the two of you will respond for about a minute. Okay, so you're like, either friends or a conversation, but he'll make that clear in the prompt. So
yeah, I want to put this disclaimer in. I was told that we were going to do this. This is all I know. But Eugene, 1 minute. We've met, right? Okay, all right. Folks, and all kidding aside, we have more people joining us. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let us know who you are and where you hail from. It's kind of cool. We have quite a, Elizabeth, Come on. Comment in the chat room. Where are you from, Liz? And everyone else, please. But anyway, Roger does what Roger does because Roger does what Roger does. I'm sorry, Chris.
But let me just say this, preface this role playing for a second, Roger. A minute. I'm not going to gong you. I'm not going to. But when we have opportunities to speak genuinely and assist one another as members of the same human race to reach for higher goals as a society, sometimes we only get that 1 minute. So I'm not going to hit the gong, but I'll say, but that's kind of you see somebody that who you have a genuine connection with in the grocery store. Something inappropriate gets stated, and you don't have a lot of time to decide, am I going to say something or not? So that's one of the reasons why we do this.
I see that.
All right, turn it over to Chris.
Wow, yeah, I mean, we've had so many police shootings over the last few years. Yeah, it's something. Like, I don't know why they just can't listen to the police. Like, is it that hard?
Hi, my name is Rogelio. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. What did you just say right now?
I said, yeah, I mean, the police don't hurt people if they don't do something wrong, right? Isn't that the way it works?
It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Have you ever experienced an interaction with a police officer other than doing 80 in your neighborhood?
Oh, God, no. I mean, I would never do something the police would ever give a reason to hurt me.
Wow. I have many people in my family that just because of the tone of their skin color, they get pulled over on the same street I drive, same heritage, same background. They never touch me. I wonder why that is. But okay, do you believe all cops are cool or good? I do. I'm a law and order person.
Well, I guess some aren't. Some they try to probably take things a step too far. I can see that happening.
All right, fair enough. Well, I just don't know where that comment came from. I've been fortunate, but I know friends and family who have had to endure unkind experiences.
Yeah, I guess hearing us talk about this, like I guess I'm just too much in my own bubble, like I'm just not taking a broad enough view of this, of what's going on out there.
Okay, gone. All right, how'd that feel, Roger?
It's like something I would never do in my life. I would have said, "You ignorant SOB." I would have engaged in a wrong way.
Yeah, sure, because that's fun for you. But let me just ask you, how far of a stretch was it to actually try to dialogue with a person like this? Was it this much? Was it this much? Was it this much?
I'm not sure if I understood that, Eugene.
How far of a stretch from what you would normally do? You said that's not what I would do.
Yeah,
how far of a stretch was it? Just speaking theoretically.
Other than glaring at the individual or calling them ignorant to their face, which I have. Oh, I do that all the time.
No. In this scenario here, how much of a stretch was it to engage in conversation?
Well, I dominated the conversation, so I don't know. I didn't let Chris do what he was going to do. That's why when you said 60 seconds, I'm like, have we met? Okay. In that conversation, I think I would not have answered the individual. I would have said, I'm just curious. Do they knock on your door or do they call you from your gated community gate? I'm just curious. Yeah, that's what I would have said.
So what I'm getting at, Roger, is this. There's our knee-jerk reaction and what we normally do. And the type of reaction that is meant to engage, maybe not educate, but just to engage. Well, how far is that stretch? So, Chris, give Roger some feedback.
Yeah, I thought you were good to, kind of what you're saying, like not attack the other person. Like you tried to use use logic and use your own personal experience, which is rooted in truth and authenticity. And I think that helped give space for me to recognize what I had been saying, kind of to offer a reflection against what my ignorance was informing me to believe.
So here's one of the premises of our style of communication, Roger. If I were to hold up a mirror to you, there is a possibility you could hear one could hear their own privilege, because it is only oneself who can, because it's a tough apple to swallow. So we're gonna switch the table. We're gonna turn the tables now, and Roger, you try the same thing that Chris did. We're turning the tables of privilege. I've sent Roger a pre-scripted little thing to vamp off of. And then let's try this thing again. And what we're doing is, as you said, we're putting ourselves in one another's shoes by this role play exchange. So give it a try, Roger.
Hey, Eugene, I just got back from vacation.
I know. Chris.
No, but I figured he was going to be like listening and commenting. Sorry. Okay. Didn't get a chance to practice. I was actually going to direct it at you, Eugene, as my coworker, and Chris was going to jump in. That's how I envisioned it.
I grade you. I'm the one who grades you.
Oh, I lost. All right. Hey, Chris. Dude, I just got back from vacation. I got to tell you, I had a blast. Vacation of my life for this year. I can't say vacation of my life. I went over to Puerto Rico. Had never been there before. It was nice. It's getaway. The beaches are absolutely awesome, but I gotta tell. Oh, and oh my God, the weather. And I've been to Alaska, man, and Puerto Rico was awesome. But I have to tell you, other than the stores and maybe some of the people, dude, that place is bad. It's poorly run. I drove by the hospitals. I was thankful that nothing happened to me. The schools look bad. The roads, you know who I work for. I was embarrassed driving on them roads. And this is part of the United States. I did not feel like I belonged, but nice beaches. I have to show you a lot of pictures. Oh, dude, the hyenas on the beach were awesome. I gotta tell you.
Well, I'm glad part of the vacation was fine, but I'm a little stunned to hear you say that the island wasn't up to your expectation. There are certain policies in place which have limited Puerto Rico's ability to have the type of government that they really ought to have. Are you aware of any of that? Or
okay, time out. I actually am. So now I have to really fake it. So forgive me. Ladies, please don't judge me, but I am faking it. They're part of the United States. Well, what the hell? They're all U.S. citizens over there. Don't they pay taxes? And I bet you Puerto Rico is one of those states that suck taxes. You know how some states, they only pay a little bit. They get more from the other rich states, like my state, California. I'm telling you. Or Mississippi or places like that. Come on, man. They're blowing the money over there. It's nice beaches, but they just run it badly.
Well, I certainly know that's not the case.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's important to value people and not recognize the certain privileges we have in this and the mainland and the 48.
Oh, Chris, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything. The people who were serving me on the beach and the tables, dude, they were awesome people. I mean, their customer service was excellent. I hope I didn't demean them in any way whatsoever. I thought they did what they were supposed to.
Well, some of the same people who were serving you, like they probably have relatives who are in the government, and they do their best to try to provide the best services for their country. For their land in as people as people anywhere do.
So gong. Yeah. All right. So you had an insider on that one. So you see, it's not that easy, even if you have some experience, to be able to help somebody see what is hard to see, right? It is difficult. Thank you, Elizabeth.
I mean, come on, man. I came across as a racist pig right there. When Chris was telling me about the people, oh, wait, what are you talking about? The servers were awesome. Okay, I'm sorry.
But
I'm not making a joke, okay? I'm sorry.
We do go into we borrow some material from some experts in the psychological field and so forth. That there, you notice that Chris, he is a co-founder of this project, and that there's something called embodied trauma, where he's still going to stumble when even though he's a co-founder and facilitator of this project, he's still going to stumble because we're not used. Okay, Elizabeth, we're not used to talking to each other. We're not used to engaging. We're just going to say, okay, let others do it. I'll put my sign, my BLM sign up in my window, and that's enough because it's for others to do. The hard work, the work of thinking twice, the work of confronting our own embodied trauma, whatever it's like, is going to summon up some discomforting feelings. But the whole point is that we practice doing it again and again and again.
I want to give, sorry for interrupting, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Tony Konopka. Thank you, Tony. I believe you are up north, somewhere in the Michigan or Pennsylvania area. Thank you. You may be driving right now. Let us know where you are, if you don't mind. And if not, we're good. I appreciate the like. Thank you, folks. So, yes, you like the program. We put you on blast. No, seriously, I thank you for letting us know. And folks, if I went too far on that thing, I probably did, and I apologize. I just got caught up in it, and I wasn't trying to make it I wasn't trying to make it about me. It just gave me a role, and I may have been defeating the purpose, Eugene, and that was not my intent.
Well, I'll say that just even in the role playing scenario. Where everybody is quote unquote performing, we feed off of what we have, what is strongest in our experience, and all that it points to are the other things that are worth nurturing and fostering. And the one thing I want to just keep coming back to again and again, we have one person who has had the courage to join the group, the journey this year, and we weren't even sure if we were going to do it again. But sometimes it is, Thanksgiving time, Elizabeth. Yeah, even worse. And sometimes, at certain times of the year, it's best maybe to keep the peace, is to stay quiet. So
yes.
What I'm talking about is the other times where it's okay to practice, somebody who is a sympathetic ear at a grocery store that you only have maybe 2 minutes in the line with together, and then there is that one opportunity where you hear, from the other person, to help them be that mirror to hear what they're saying, and maybe bring them all along a little bit. We don't need to change everybody this instant. That's not the point. The point is to practice talking with each other. Practice wanting to be that other. We're all people that want to give up our chair on the bus, give up our seat on the subway. We're all people that want to give up get to the point where we can all give up that spot in line, or hold the door open. And how do we do it? It's just going to make us look at ourselves, and as in Leslie's epilogue 2 years ago, what uncomfortable privilege we all have, because even people of color have privilege too. We look at that. I have to look at that.
Yes, I do. I've had privilege, and I don't mean to cut you off. I know I have. I've been fortunate, and I've mentioned in my program, my father gave me what many would call a middle class life. I lived in a stable home, a quiet neighborhood. This is going to come across as very insensitive, but all my neighbors were not a minority. So I didn't know what the word meant, the R word. I didn't know what it meant. And they treated me well. They treated us well in the neighborhood. We were the only minority in the city of Commerce, California, a very industrious little town. But when we moved in, we were the only minority, and we were never, we never had to deal with anything. So I grew up with privilege. And when I hear other people throwing around the word privilege, it hurts because I feel that I cannot join that conversation. I understand, oh no, I'm not that dumb. I listen to them and I hear their experiences, but I will never understand what they endure because I didn't live it. Don't get me wrong, folks. I didn't have a perfect life, but I did not give my family a middle class. We're working class. I know the difference, and it has been much more difficult for me and my family. But again, I've still had a fairly stable, and I've had coworkers, friends, family, seminary brothers that have not had what I had, and I just stay quiet. How am I able to have a conversation on treatment, race relations, understanding when I myself had in many ways have benefited? It's difficult for me. And when both of you gentlemen asked to do this, I said, well, it starts here. If not before, it starts here. And
it's
we
a
have to take that step.
It's a work of a lifetime, as Senator Lewis said. I mentioned this last week, or it's the work of many lifetimes. The political theorist Edmund Burke famously said, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing."
Oh my goodness, yes.
And it's not that there's nothing wrong with privilege. Like that analogy I made of the person in crutches. When we all realize that we are, every single one of us are fundamentally good people, we just have a different facet of the crystal that we're seeing the world through. But we still want a world in which more people are willing to give up the seat on the subway, or their chair, or their place in line. I mean, because how that made you feel, Roger, when an older gentleman let you go first, is this type of confronting of your blessings.
I turned him down because I could still walk. I did, because I told him I thank you, because I'm now struggling differently, where I am walking places and sometimes I'm able to walk fast. Some days you feel good, some days you don't. And people are stopping for me now so I can cross the street. Like, I'm 54 years old, dude.
Or
don't slow down for me. So I'm having those issues.
Or, Roger, or you're noticing compassion more.
But I have had the door slammed in my face by some people, which really, I've kind of expected now a little bit of help as I try to get through. And when they actually do it, I'm like, well, Roger doesn't stay quiet on that. Roger immediately says, well, apparently mama failed educating you, pal, or whatever. Oh, I'm stupid. I'm not long for this world. I'm not.
Okay, so you go into the prerequisite course for.
I'm the antagonizer. I am. That's why I'm not good for role playing, gentlemen.
Well, you get the feel.
Yeah.
In both situations, on both sides of the table, there is still discomfort. So, IBPOC and white people have privilege, and it's never easy. It's never easy to give up comfort. I'm talking a lot. You should say something.
No, you've been great so far. Yeah, it's interesting that we're mentioning what are kind of everyday kind of common acts of courage, like the gentleman in your case, Roger, to offer his chair, or someone offering to open the door for someone else. Like that's hopefully the type of courage that we're trying to open up this course to. Like you don't necessarily have to be someone who identifies as an activist or someone who identifies as anti-racist. It's simply someone who has the courage to want to dare to be able to listen to someone else from a different point of view and mirror to them, a better way to look at a particular group, or a different way to look at history. Not necessarily, it takes all types. Like it does take protesters to influence the government, but it also takes people like Eugene and hopefully what we do, try to get people to talk. So people who are less likely to protest but are more have skills to listen and engage in admittedly uncomfortable conversations, we hope to be able to appeal to them and give them a way to express their courage and their ability to dream of a world where we are able to rebuild Notre Dame, but in terms of how we talk about race.
I cannot tell you. I personally invited a good 50 of my own personal friends and associates and people within my various inner circles.
We call it universe.
Yeah,
those that are in your universe. Yes.
And I cannot tell you how disheartening it is to put this kind of effort into a project that's really rather has very few prerequisites, very few requirements, and to keep again and again hearing the response. That sounds wonderful. I'm really busy. That sounds wonderful. I hope other people benefit. That sounds wonderful. I just can't handle it. It's the point at which we begin. What is the tipping point? What's the breaking point at which we can no longer afford to not make this a priority? Now, Sister St. George will yell at me for a double negative, but what is the point at which we can no longer afford to not make this a priority? Yes, because everybody has a great reason. And everybody's busy now that we're in an endemic. It sees the world, right? It sees the day. But what are we going to leave? I mean, yeah, okay, fine. If you're working 100% of your time on ecology, I praise you. Wonderful. This is a complimentary way at that.
Gentlemen, there's going to be people that are going to always say no. But I believe, and I'm paraphrasing and butchering this, a salesman says something to the effect, if they keep telling you no, you're doing your job. Okay? You have to keep going out there and doing it until you bag that yes. So does that mean you're not doing your job at that point? I don't know. But I'm paraphrasing. I'm butchering that.
Will you do that as a double negative now?
No, sir. I did bite my lip because when you delivered the double negative, I was biting my lips, but that was okay. I understand the double negative, but I would have said it the exact same way. Not as eloquently as you.
All rules can have exceptions.
Oh, no, do not, because people are going to throw that into my face because facts are facts.
All right. Let's leave rules alone.
That is amusing. I'm glad that we could have this levity. And maybe I'm kind of addressing this to the audience now, that as far as my involvement here is a privilege to be able to help these gentlemen get the word out on this project. The way I see it is it's worth investing to just have the conversations. And that's what it is. And you can go roundabout, you can do the oblique angle. Oh, I'm sorry, geometry majors, but that's what you do. You hit it that way, but it's wow, Elizabeth, I'll stop talking. But in truth, I think the tipping point is here. We have to step up or mankind will fail. I believe today is the moment. It's seize the day. I don't know what that is in Latin. You know what that is.
Carpe diem.
So, I knew what it was, but it's called Ole.
I think I tutored you in some of your Latin studies. Let me just recap.
Oh, Eugene,
Recap.
I got you on one. No,
Recap.
I was stuck in Spanish for 4 years.
I wasn't going to bring up that trauma. Let me just
Latin guy taking Spanish for 4 years.
Let me recap what this course does. There are 4 group meetings between a span of about 5 months. There's about 30 pages a week you got to read from. You don't have to. You could talk to your study partner and say, "Hey, what did I miss?" And then you discuss with us at our 4 group meetings what you experienced. That's it. It's a glorified book study, but we supplement the material, as Chris mentioned, with other experiences that I'm not going to give away here because you have to attend. How do you apply? Tell us you are interested and you're busy. We'll sign you up, because when we meet you at the first meeting, that you're going to have to explain what brought you here. So that's your application. So don't be threatened by having to write. It says to write a statement. Don't worry about that. You know me, so you've met me. Listen to me. So you've got it in. If you're interested in this, just let us know somehow on our Facebook page. Join our Facebook discussion group if 4 meetings in the next 5 months is too much for you, and engage there. But somewhere, somehow, we have to get to that point where and Elizabeth just said that we're already at that tipping point, where Edmund Burke said that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to not do anything. I did another double negative. I reversed it. Did you notice that?
Yes. I flinched the first time because I live by that. Dare I say it's a credo. And I heard you again, and I was like, okay.
So the thing is, in Latin, double negatives are permitted in certain situations.
Yes, but Sister St. George would not allow it. And that woman did know English. There's no doubt about it. But I will never, ever diagram a sentence.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that later.
No, we won't. All kidding aside, I'm not trying to make a joke of this. Folks,
this notebook is from high school, and it's getting put in the mail to you.
You still have it? Oh, dude, you got me on that one. Wow, that's crazy. Okay. I'm impressed. But look, folks, courage2look@gmail.com. For those that are only listening to us, it's the word courage, the number 2, look@gmail.com. And you can head on over there. It is also, again, courage2look.blogspot.com. You see some of the imagery in the background. For those of you that are only listening, you have the site. Check it out. Dare I say, me thinks, mull that one over, me thinks that these gentlemen will be back again fairly quick to update us. And who knows, maybe they'll be joining us a little more often for some impromptu conversations. There is merit to what they are doing, but there's another avenue for you to reach the world populace, and that is, dare I say, humbly on this network. There, I said it. There's a commitment. I'll leave it to you guys. You may come and join us whenever you would like. You want airtime, it's yours. So
thanks, Roger. Thank you.
Yeah, clearly. So, but I'm not finishing it up.
You're not wrapping up?
You need to, yeah.
Yeah, Jim, let me just
Yeah.
say that our Facebook discussion group, we provided for at least a safe space in which some comportment is necessary. But please, if you honestly don't have the time to explore our group this year, we may offer it again in the future. But practice conversing, practice dialoguing, ask questions. We're posting articles and things to read, maybe some video, and we're engaging in dialogue. I posted something the other day about a study that was done by a comment that was done by a psychologist that older Chinese Americans are uncomfortable with mental health, and there are other complementary ways to address their needs. So, yeah, engage. Don't be. We're not the type of DEI, facilitators that are going to start,
Wrapping
you on the, like Sister Mary, whoever she was, the piano teacher. That's privilege, and that's unconscious bias. That's not us. No, we're inviting people to converse, dialogue. So find ways to engage other ways if you do agree that it is important at this juncture in history.
If I may, the Facebook page, unlike the email and the blog spot, it is Courage TO look. So facebook.com/groups/courage to look. All letters. No
and what
numbers.
part of speech is the preposition? Oops, I gave it away. What part of the diagram do you put prepositions on, Roger?
I hope you'll still have us back.
Quite good, Chris. Thank you. Quite good. I know. What do I know? I'm Latin, man. I'm dumb. Come on, man. My English.
There is the Spanish preposition antes. There's the Spanish preposition de. There's the Spanish preposition entre.
Now I'm being lectured in the native language of my family. The only individual, and I do say this, the only individual that could get away with that would be a seminary brother. I have to qualify it and preface it. And it would be Eugene Castillo, a man I respect and admire. And because he is in the company of him, Chris Jamison as well. We've only had a few times to speak, but I kid you not. I didn't say what I did just to say it. I respect what you're doing because it is difficult. And it starts with just having the nerve to begin that conversation. Because we could talk in the future. There it is. That was a professional flirt. I'm saying you come back. We can talk about those other types of things, but I will leave it to these fine gentlemen. All right. What else did you want to
Thanks so much for having us. I really appreciate your time, Roger.
All right. So we are good then. Yeah. All right, folks. That's going to be it. This is Wednesday Night in America. Thank you for joining us. And we do, another comment. Thank you for doing this program. I'm extremely interested in the class. This is such a needed class. Well, there it is on Facebook. And you have the email. Folks, ask them. Talk to them. They know what they're doing. I have the desire to do this, and that's why we're here. But they're the ones that are actually putting it on their back and making it happen. Way to go, gentlemen. All right. For everyone else that joined us, Tony, Elizabeth, you guys are the bomb. Thanks for letting us know that you're in on it. And thank you for your understanding. And thank you for staying in and listening as well. I've spent a lot of time with both of you on air. I'm not surprised in a way, but I'm still comforted that you stayed here to listen with us. I thank you. You guys are made of a different cloth. But beyond that, everyone else, start asking questions, people. All right? Start asking.
We're not going to beat you up. I promise.
There it is. Thank you, Tony. You're a good man. You are. I'm not surprised. So we are out of here. For everyone else, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Wednesday Night in America. The program is Courage to Look. It is the Courage to Look project. As I mentioned, it's on Facebook. You see it down there on the ticker, the reader, the Chiron, whatever abhorrent name you may have for it, or the little thing that just travels across the screen, whatever. But these are media professionals right next to me. I'm sure they're like, yeah, dude, you called it everything but what. Very good, Chris. Very good. I called it everything but what it really is. I think they call it the ticker at the bottom, but again, it's all right. We're good. All right, folks. Just start talking again. We're coming out of COVID, man. That's where it starts. And I challenge everyone to just say hi and see how much that starts to change stuff. So we're in this together. So we'll see you guys on the other side. Peace always. And we are out of here.